Wow, this is some fascinating material for our deep dive today.
It is, isn't it?
A whole bunch of scriptures from the New Testament, plus these
Yeah.
notes about
Yeah.
McQuena's 3 keys to growth in the coming harvest.
Definitely seems like you're interested in
Yeah.
how these teachings can be applied to personal growth
Mhm.
and maybe even trying to understand
Yeah.
what this harvest could mean for us today.
Exactly. And we have quite the collection of scriptures here to explore.
We do.
Let's see, we have passages from
Yeah.
Matthew, 1 Corinthians,
Yes.
Romans,
Uh-huh.
Haggai,
Yeah.
Malachi.
All pointing towards these themes of growth,
Yeah.
labor, and spiritual abundance.
Okay, so let's jump right into McQuena's first key.
Okay?
Willing laborers prepared for the relevant work of the harvest.
Mm-hmm.
That phrase, relevant work,
Yeah,
it really stands out to me.
I agree.
It's not just about being busy, right?
Right.
But about doing work that actually matters.
Exactly. And I think Matthew 9:35 through 38 gives us a really clear image of what Mukwena might be getting at here.
Okay.
Jesus sees the crowds as harvests ready, but there's a shortage of workers.
Well,
So there's this pressing need.
right.
But it's not just about anyone stepping up.
Yeah.
It's about being prepared
Right.
for the specific work
Mhm.
at hand.
I see. So it's not enough to just be enthusiastic.
Exactly.
You need to have the right
But-
skills and knowledge, too.
Absolutely.
Now I'm starting to see why Mukwena emphasizes both willingness and preparation.
Mm-hmm.
It's both, not just one.
And if we jump ahead to 1 Corinthians
Okay.
chapters 3 and 15,
Right.
we see this idea that different types of labor
Mm.
bring different rewards,
Okay.
but all of it needs to be built on the foundation of
Right.
Christ.
Of Christ. Okay.
This makes me wonder, how do we even know
Yeah.
what work is considered relevant
Mhm.
in our own lives? Right.
In our own time.
That's a great question.
How do we even discern
Yeah.
what our unique harvest might require of us?
It's a big question for sure.
It is.
And it reminds me of 2 Timothy 2:15,
Yeah.
where
Sorry.
Paul tells Timothy,
Yeah.
"Study to show thyself approved unto God,
Mm-hmm.
a workman that needeth not to be ashamed,
Yes.
rightly dividing the word of truth."
It seems like preparation in this context
Yeah.
is an ongoing process.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just born ready to go.
Right.
We have to actively learn and grow.
That's a crucial point, I think.
It is.
This harvest isn't a passive thing we just wait around for.
No.
It requires us to become skilled
Yes.
and knowledgeable laborers,
Mhm.
constantly developing our understanding of God's word
Absolutely.
and figuring out how to apply it to our lives.
I agree.
Well, it's a good thing I enjoy learning then.
Yeah.
Okay, so McQuena's second key,
Okay.
gifts and graces presented in team spirit.
Mhm.
Definitely sensing a theme of action here.
It's not just about having these gifts.
Right.
It's about actively using them
Yes.
in a collaborative way.
And Romans 12.1
Okay.
sets the tone for this beautifully.
Okay.
It calls us to offer ourselves as living sacrifices to God.
Wow. That's powerful.
That kind of dedication
Yeah.
and selflessness
Mm.
is really at the heart
Yeah.
of any effective teamwork.
And then Romans 12.3 through 8
Yes.
goes on to list all these different spiritual gifts.
Mm.
Prophecy, teaching, serving, encouraging, giving, leading, showing mercy.
It really makes you realize
Yeah,
that everyone has something unique to contribute.
absolutely.
And remember, all of these gifts are
Yeah.
meant to be used within the body of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Paul's analogy of the body in 1 Corinthians 12.
Right.
Each part is necessary
Yeah.
for the whole to function properly.
We need each other,
We do.
so we're better together.
Yes,
No lone wolves allowed in this harvest field.
that's right.
Mukwena is really stressing that we're stronger and more effective
Mhm.
when we work together, combining our unique gifts and graces.
Yes, and that spirit of unity and cooperation is vital for the success of any harvest.
I can imagine, yeah.
Imagine trying to harvest a field alone.
Yeah,
It would be overwhelming.
right.
But with a team, each person playing their part,
Yeah.
it becomes achievable.
Okay, ready for Mukwena's third key.
Let's hear it.
Aggressive giving and strategic redeployment of money.
Okay.
I got to say that word aggressive
Mm-hmm.
is a bit startling.
Yeah, it is strong language.
It is, yeah, even for,
Mhm.
prosperity gospel.
I think the book of Haggai provides a helpful perspective
Uh-huh.
on what Mukwena might mean here.
Okay.
The people are urged to rebuild the temple, to prioritize God's house over their own personal comfort.
Okay.
So maybe aggressive giving is about putting our resources where they truly matter, about putting God first in our finances.
That makes sense.
It's not about being reckless with money. It's about aligning our financial decisions with our spiritual values.
It reminds me of that idea of the curse in Malachi 3.
Right.
Neglecting our tithes and offerings is seen as inviting spiritual and material stagnation.
Right. It's about recognizing that true abundance comes from aligning ourselves with God's system of blessing.
I see.
And strategic redeployment is key here.
Okay.
It's not just about giving blindly, but giving wisely.
So it's about being intentional with our giving.
Exactly.
Making sure it's actually fueling the work that needs to be done, like investing in the harvest.
I think that's a really insightful way to put it. It's about being good stewards of the resources God has entrusted to us.
It's interesting to think about how these three keys all work together.
They do.
You need the willing and prepared laborers to do the work.
Yeah.
But they also need the support of a strong team and the resources to make it all happen.
It's a holistic approach to growth and abundance.
There's also this other layer here.
Yes.
That I think we should explore further.
Okay.
The concept of harvest itself. We've been talking about the harvest this whole time.
Yeah.
But what does it actually mean in this context?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think...
Is it a specific event? A metaphorical reaping of souls?
It's a question.
Or something else entirely?
That deserves its own deep dive.
Okay, I like that.
The scriptures we've looked at so far offer some clues.
Okay.
But there's a lot more to unpack.
Well, let's take a closer look at this harvest then.
I'm ready when you are.
And see if we can uncover some deeper meaning.
Yes.
And connect it back to Mukwena's three keys.
Absolutely. So we've been talking about Mukwena's 3 keys to growth in the coming harvest. And you asked a great question about what this harvest actually signifies.
Yeah, it's a central idea.
It is.
But also kind of mysterious, you know?
Yeah.
Is it a literal harvest?
Yeah.
A spiritual one? Or maybe even something more symbolic?
Well, the beauty of this metaphor is that it can be interpreted on multiple levels. Yeah. In the Bible, harvest often represents the gathering of souls into God's kingdom.
Right.
Like, think of the parables Jesus told about sowing seeds and reaping a bountiful harvest.
Okay, yeah. So there's definitely a connection to evangelism and spreading the good news.
Yes.
But we've also been talking about personal growth.
Right.
Developing our gifts and being good stewards of our resources.
Yeah.
So it seems like harvest could encompass all of that too, right?
Absolutely. I think Mukwena is pointing towards a broader understanding of harvest.
Okay.
One that includes both individual and collective growth, both spiritual and practical outcomes.
I see.
It's about seeing the potential for abundance in every area of life.
Okay.
And then working diligently to cultivate that potential.
I like that. Yeah, it's not just about waiting for some future event.
No.
It's about actively participating.
Exactly.
In the process of growth and transformation, both in ourselves and in the world around us.
And I think that's where Mukwena's first key comes in.
Okay.
Willing laborers prepared for the relevant work of the harvest.
Right.
We need to be intentional about developing our skills.
Yeah.
Deepening our understanding of God's word and discerning what work is most needed in our particular time and place.
So it's not just about showing up and being enthusiastic.
No, it's about being equipped
Yeah.
and prepared to do work that actually makes a difference.
And that's where the idea of strategic redeployment of money comes in too, right?
Yes, absolutely.
We need to make sure our resources are being used wisely to support the efforts that are actually bearing fruit. It's like we're investors in this harvest.
That's a good way to put it.
And we want to make sure our investments are yielding the best possible return.
Right. And remember, this harvest isn't a solitary endeavor.
Okay.
Mukwena's second key, gifts and graces presented in team spirit, reminds us that we're called to work together, to pool our resources and support each other in this process of growth and abundance.
It's like that old saying, many hands make light work.
I like that.
But in this case, it's not just about lightening the load.
Right.
It's about creating something beautiful and impactful together.
I love that it's about recognizing that we each have unique gifts and talents to offer, and that by working together, we can achieve far more than we ever could alone.
You know, this whole conversation makes me think about the early Christians in the book of Acts.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that passage we talked about where they were selling their possessions
Yes.
and sharing everything they had?
That was a pretty radical example of team spirit
Yeah.
and strategic redeployment of resources.
It really was. And it just highlights the power of generosity and community
Yes.
when it comes to fueling the work of the harvest.
They weren't just giving out of obligation. They were giving out of a deep sense of love and commitment to each other.
Yeah.
And to the mission that God had given them.
It's inspiring, but it's also a little intimidating.
Yeah, I can see that.
Their level of commitment was so intense.
It was.
I mean, am I really expected to sell all my belongings
That's a great question.
and live in a commune to participate in this harvest?
And I think it gets to the heart of what it means to apply these principles in our own lives.
Right.
It's not about blindly copying what others have done.
Okay.
It's about discerning what God is calling us to do in our own unique circumstances.
So it's about finding our own way to be aggressive with our giving,
Yes.
to be strategic with our resources, and to be willing laborers in the areas where we're most gifted and passionate.
Exactly. And I think that requires a lot of prayer,
Yeah.
reflection, and seeking God's guidance.
It's not just about following a formula.
Right.
It's about listening to that still, small voice within us and allowing God to lead us towards the work He's prepared for us to do.
And I think that's where the prepared aspect of Mukwena's first key comes back into play.
Okay.
We need to be constantly learning, growing,
Yeah.
and deepening our relationship with God.
Right.
So that we can hear His voice more clearly
Yeah.
and follow His leading with confidence.
So it's not just about doing, it's about being.
That's beautifully put.
It's about becoming the kind of people
Yes.
who are naturally drawn to the work of the harvest, who are eager to use our gifts and resources to make a difference in the world.
And when we do that,
Yeah.
I believe the how will start to become clearer.
Okay.
We'll begin to see opportunities that we might have missed before.
Mm-hmm.
We'll find ourselves drawn to certain causes, certain people, certain ways of using our gifts.
So it's not about having all the answers right now.
No.
It's about being open to the adventure,
Yes.
to the unfolding of God's plan in our lives.
I think that's a great way to think about it. Yeah.
This harvest isn't a static destination.
Right.
It's a dynamic journey. And like any good journey, it requires us to be flexible, adaptable,
Right.
and willing to embrace the unexpected.
You know, as you're talking, I'm starting to realize that this whole concept of harvest
Yeah,
is much bigger
it is.
and more multifaceted
Yes.
than I initially thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about a single event or particular type of work.
No.
It's about a way of life, a way of being in the world.
And I think that's what makes Mukwena's 3 keys
Yeah.
so relevant and powerful. They provide a framework for approaching life
Okay.
with a sense of purpose, generosity, and collaboration.
Yeah.
They challenge us to see ourselves as active participants in God's work,
Right.
not just passive observers.
This has been incredibly insightful.
It has.
I feel like I'm starting to grasp the depth and complexity of this harvest metaphor
Yeah.
and how it connects to Mukwena's 3 keys.
But I have to admit, I'm still wrestling with some of the practical implications.
I understand.
What does this actually look like in the day-to-day?
That's a great question and one that we'll explore further in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we've talked about Mukwena's 3 keys
Yes.
and how they relate to this idea of harvest. But I'm still trying to wrap my head around
Yeah.
how all this translates into action.
Okay.
You know, what does it actually look like
Right.
to live out these principles in a practical way?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because the application
Yeah.
is going to be unique to each individual
Right.
and their context.
So there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Exactly.
Makes sense, but it also feels a little daunting.
I understand.
I mean, where do we even begin?
Well, I think a good starting point
Yeah.
is to reflect on the specific needs
Okay.
and opportunities that exist in our own communities.
So taking a look around,
Yes.
really paying attention to what's going on around us.
Exactly. And then asking ourselves,
Okay.
how can my unique gifts and talents
Yeah.
be used to address those needs?
Right.
Maybe you're a gilded teacher who could volunteer at an after-school program, or perhaps you have a knack for organization and could help a local charity streamline their operations.
So it's about connecting the dots.
Yes.
Between our passions, our skills, and the needs we see around us.
Precisely. And remember, Mukwina emphasizes strategic redeployment of resources.
Right.
So it's not just about giving our time and energy.
Okay.
It's also about being thoughtful with our finances.
Right. Like maybe there's a local ministry that could really benefit from a financial contribution.
Exactly. It's about making our giving count.
Yeah.
Ensuring that our resources are having the greatest possible impact.
And I guess we don't have to do everything at once, right?
Right. Don't underestimate the power of small, consistent actions. Maybe you commit to donating a certain percentage of your income to a cause you believe in. Or maybe you make a habit of volunteering a few hours each month.
It's about finding a rhythm that works for us.
I like that.
Something sustainable that we can integrate into our daily lives.
Yes. Because this harvest is an ongoing process.
Right.
Our participation needs to be ongoing, too.
Love that perspective.
It's not about a one-time grand gesture. It's about cultivating a lifestyle of generosity, service, and intentionality.
As we wrap up this deep dive, could you leave our listener with a final thought?
Sure.
Something to really chew on.
Okay.
As they consider how to apply Mukwina's 3 keys in their own lives.
What comes to mind for me is a quote from Mother Teresa.
Okay.
Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love.
That's beautiful.
I think that really encapsulates the essence of what we've been talking about today.
It does.
It's not about achieving some monumental feat.
Right.
It's about bringing love and intentionality to every aspect of our lives, to every interaction, to every decision.
And it's a great reminder that even the smallest acts of service, generosity, and kindness can have a ripple effect.
Yes.
Contributing to the growth and abundance of this harvest.
Absolutely.
In ways we may never fully comprehend.
So as you go about your day, your week, your life, ask yourself, how can I be a willing laborer in this harvest field? How can I use my gifts and resources to bring about positive change? And how can I do it all with great love?
Those are powerful questions to ponder.
They are.
I know I'll be carrying them with me as I continue to explore these concepts and put them into practice in my own life.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope it's been a fruitful exploration for you too.
And until next time.
Yes.
Keep seeking.
Keep growing. Keep growing.
And keep harvesting the abundance that God has in store for you.